One of the things I talk about pretty frequently on this channel are sports games. It is something that I've kind of found as like my niche as far as like things that a lot of people don't necessarily discuss on YouTube are retro video game sports games. And I'm okay with that because I do enjoy them. This isn't falsehood. This isn't like me just taking something that no one else is talking about. I genuinely dig sports games. I have the complete collection of EA NHL games starting from 1992 up to today. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Square Pegs. I'm Jay. Now, this video idea was not one I came up with myself. This was actually suggested to me by my friend Mondane Designs. You should check his channel out because he does some unbelievable content twice a month. And I really liked the idea of silly sports games that every collection should have. So we're looking at stuff that isn't necessarily a hardcore sim like MLB The Show or something that is lost its way a little bit like, say, the NHL series. We are looking at games that are sports titles and they have a sports experience, but they are a little bit twisted. We're going to kick things off on the Famicom with one of my favorite Kunio-kun games.
So yeah, I'm going to kick things off with an ice hockey game. It is my favorite sport, so naturally I do want to talk about ice hockey. And I want to talk about what I consider one of the most unique ice hockey experiences out there. And it's on the Famicom, and it's called Ike Nekketsu Hakibu Subet Kurando Dairanatu. I butchered that, I guarantee it. Or you can just call it Crash and the Boys Ice Challenge, which is, you know, what it should have been called when it was supposed to be released here in the States. But if you don't know this one, this is a Kunio-kun game. So this is in the same family of games as things like River City Ransom or Nintendo World Cup or Super Dodgeball or Crash and the Boys Street Challenge. It just happens to be a hockey game, and I think it's absolutely brilliant. It has some of the best hockey gameplay out there, and you just get to beat the crap out of the players too. So it's kind of a cross between a fighting game or a beat-em-up game and ice hockey, just more so than ice hockey normally is. Absolutely love this title. It is what I think is one of the necessary games for people to own on the Famicom. Even if you're not a hockey fan, I think it's something that a lot of people would really enjoy if they gave it a shot, because Technos just made great games back then. Straight up, any of the Hot Shots or Everybody's Golf games are worth entry on this list. I just happen to have footage of Hot Shots Golf 4, so consider this like a placeholder for the entire series, including the new one on the Nintendo Switch 2 and other consoles. They're just brilliant. They're wonderful golf games. I think that these are some of the strongest mechanical golf games out there, while also being a little bit silly, a little bit ridiculous, and a whole lot of fun. There's nothing here that's really going to set itself apart as being something kind of crazy and over the top. That will come later with another golf game on the original Xbox, but there's something to be said here about having solid golf mechanics with a nice cartoony look and some really creative course designs that I think really lend itself to being a fun kind of slightly over-the-top golf game. Now, you could have gone with any golf title here. There's a lot of games on the NES and portable games that were really fun for golf. I was considering putting Neo Turf Masters on here, but at the end of the day, that is pretty much a straight golf game on the Neo Geo Pocket Color. Hot Shots Golf 4 changes it up a little bit. There's a little bit difference here, a little bit more whimsy, and I think that is why it qualifies. PlayStation 5, and I want to talk about Wreckfest. This is a game that I had zero expectations for. Like, this was one that got offered up in PS Plus, and I was like, yeah, what the hell, I'll give it a shot. I like racing games. I like Demolition Derby stuff. I'm willing to give it a try. And this game is so much fun. Like, it is such a wonderful title and such a just ridiculous auto racing game that, well, I guess it's more of an auto wrecking game. It's not so much a racing game. It's more survival of the fittest, or survival of the fattest, I guess. Fastest, not fattest. I mean, I guess you could be fat. I don't know. But it's one of those games that I just think figured out its niche, and it just leaned into it. And it made a great game out of it. Like, I've never played a Demolition Derby video game before. I don't know if there's other ones out there. If there are, let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to check them out. But this is one that just kind of came out of nowhere for me that I really wanted to try, because looking at the screenshots, I thought it looked really nice. And I wanted to see if they could capture some magic on the PS5 for a system that I just really didn't connect with for a long time. This is one of those first games that really made me enjoy the system. It's a really fun game if you haven't played it. It's well worth checking out. Cyber Series Base Wars is one of those NES games that I remembered fondly when I was younger and I absolutely loved, and I was terrified that as I got older, it was going to be one of those games that just did not age well. And I am so happy to say that it aged like a fine wine. a fine robotic combat wine that I think everyone should play. It is a ridiculous baseball game. It's a fantastic one, but it is ridiculous. You play as robots, you are rounding the bases. It plays just like traditional baseball, and except for the fact that you can get into brawls on the base paths and like blow up your opponents and stuff like that. It's a really interesting take on what was a fairly simple sport to turn into a video game in the days of the NES. You had a pitch button, you had a hit button, and that's really all you needed. So when you got something that dared to be a little bit different and to try something a little bit new, it was exciting to experience, and Base Wars did that. It's one of the reasons I really like Baseball Simulator 1000 so much, is that it didn't just rely on the old faithful experience of what an NES baseball game could be. It dared to be different. Cyber Series Base Wars is the same thing. Having only played Windjammers in arcades, I had never really taken the time to try Windjammers 2 out on the Nintendo Switch, and I'm glad I did, because it is a solid addition to the Windjammers universe. It's a fantastic game. It's really, really fun. If you have ever played the arcade title, you're going to know exactly what you're getting yourself into with this one, because it plays familiarly. You're going to know exactly what to expect. Different characters you can choose from, different courses, different lanes on the course are worth more points. You have to get to 15 to win a set. Best 2 out of 3 sets wins. It plays a lot like tennis. It's a little bit of a mix between like ultimate frisbee and tennis, I guess, for lack of a better term. It's a really clever game. And in arcades, it's fast and frenzied and really, really fun in multiplayer. I haven't had a chance to play Windjammers 2 multiplayer yet, so I can't say if that's great, but if it's anything like the original, and this one adds on to the original in many incredible ways, it's going to be a blast online or multiplayer on a couch as well. Really fun title. You can also check out the original Windjammers on the Switch if you're curious about it, because it's fantastic, or there are a million ways to emulate it out there. So if you haven't played it, you should. It's really fun. Pro wrestling as its own could just be an entry on this list, because it is ultimately a weird-ass sport, right? Like, it is a predetermined outcome. It's more athletic ballet than anything. But I wanted to kind of take that experience of playing those amazing N64 wrestling games and turn it up just a little bit, which is why we have Galactic Wrestling featuring Ultimate Muscle from the PlayStation 2. As far as I'm aware, this uses the same engine as we had in games like No Mercy, WrestleMania 2000, WCW vs. NWO, and it just adds the characters from Kinnikuman, Ultimate Muscle, into the mix and gives them all their weird superpowers and their weird abilities, and leans heavily into the comedy aspect of things. Lots of voice acting from the characters in the cartoon, lots of like over-the-top ridiculous animations and fights and just crazy moves that you're able to pull off. It's a wonderful, fun game. I really do enjoy this one. This is one that a lot of people gravitate towards the one on the GameCube. I actually like this one on the PS2 better, and that doesn't really happen for me very often. I usually like GameCube stuff better, but I think this one's a better game overall. Over on the Game Boy Advance, Japan got a release of a baseball game featuring the characters from One Piece. Now, as someone who has recently discovered One Piece, and I will stop saying that eventually, I promise, but I just feel like such a newbie in the overall universe of One Piece discovery, I had no idea that there was the breadth of amazing One Piece video games out there. Like, I'd seen some of them, but to see the ridiculous amount of One Piece games available in Japan is kind of overwhelming. And one of them is One Piece Baseball, and it's amazing. It plays so well. It has such a fun, unique mechanic where every character bats using their abilities. Like, Zoro will slash at the ball with his swords. Luffy just beats the crap out of it with his gum abilities. Nani hits it with a staff. It's a clever take on baseball while still being faithful to mechanics that we understand and are familiar with throughout our history of playing baseball games in video games. I absolutely love it. I think it is one of my favorite sports experiences, and just such a treat and such a clever surprise of a game that I did not expect to be nearly as good as it is. I put Rockman's Soccer or Mega Man Soccer on this list, not necessarily because it's a great game, because I actually think it's a pretty terrible soccer game in the grand scheme of things, but I put it on here because it is such a weird goddamn title, because this is not something that I ever saw coming. I remember when I first heard about this game back when I was like in my early 20s, I was kind of blown away by the concept of a Mega Man Soccer game, and I really loved it. Now, if you're looking for a straight soccer sim, you're not going to get that here. This is a ham-fisted attempt at Capcom to make a sports title featuring Mega Man, and it really doesn't work in the grand scheme of things. The mechanics aren't great. It doesn't play a lot like a soccer game. It tries to be cartoony and to sim at the same time, which is not a really happy place to be because they never really settled on what the mechanics were supposed to be. So it can be a little bit tough to play at times. But if you're looking for something that's a little bit out of left field, for something that is not necessarily a run-of-the-mill everyday retro sports game, you should try out Mega Man Soccer or Rockman Soccer, because I think there is an inherent charm to the title that more people should experience. One of my favorite games from a few years ago was Cruis'n Blast on the Nintendo Switch, and I think this is such a wonderful arcade experience. Like, this to me is such a faithful port from the arcades that it's almost one for one. Like, there are some differences, but as far as core gameplay goes, you're not going to have a better experience with a Cruis'n game on home consoles than with Blast. This is over-the-top, ridiculous, action-packed, fast, and fun. And man, does this game lean into the ridiculous. Like, of course, I mean, it's a Cruis'n game, so of course it does, but there is so much happening on screen at all times that you can't help but just be absorbed with everything that's going on. And one of the things I love about it is the built-in replay value, because there's so much stuff that you have to accomplish on each level that you're going to just keep going back for more. There's tons of unlockables, tons of different tracks, tons of courses, amazing experiences overall, just a lot of different cars you can drive. I just think it's fun. This one's a really, really solid game. And while, yes, loosely this is an auto racing game, I still want to say it qualifies. This is the silliest of the silly sports games on this list.
Second place.
You know, I'm kind of the opinion that any SSX game is a good SSX game. And while Tricky and 3 get all the press, I wanted to talk about SSX On Tour here for a second, because I think this is just an underappreciated entry in the franchise. This is kind of the last real SSX game, if you will. Like, 2012 was great, and Blur had its moments. That's probably the only one I would say, yeah, you could probably skip that one. But SSX On Tour, I think, is just a really kind of fun take on the entire franchise. It's a little bit more punk rock. Like, I love the interface. I love the way that the game is set up and the way it's laid out. I like the mountain that you're able to board down. I really like the different characters in the game. I just find it to be a fun entry. I think it's faithful and solid mechanically. I think it looks good. I think the music in the game is spectacular, and I really enjoy it. And while, yes, Tricky and 3 are probably better games, and yeah, okay, I won't even say probably. While Tricky and 3 are better games, I think this one deserves its flowers too. Have you played this one? Let me know in the comments. MLB Power Pros. This is one that was suggested to me by David B69, another fellow YouTube creator who does a lot of sports game content. Please do check out his channel if you haven't done so. He does a lot of really amazing sports stuff. And this is one that he suggested to me back a couple of years ago. And it was one that I looked for and was able to find. And this is an excellent baseball game. Now, this doesn't get too silly. This doesn't get too out of sorts. But when you stop and look at it, you can see that visually, this game's ridiculous. Like, it doesn't look like a traditional baseball game in any stretch of the imagination. And they do something really clever by adding almost RPG elements into it with the season mode, where you're actually able to upgrade your character and equipment and things like that, and I think that's really clever. The reason I wanted to include this one and not other entries in the Power Pro series is because this one actually has the MLB license, and you can choose to play as teams from Major League Baseball if you so choose. I really do enjoy this game. I think this is an excellent entry into the Major League Baseball franchise of video games. There's been a lot of great ones out there. Like, today we're treated to things like MLB The Show, but don't sleep on MLB Power Pros on the PS2. I've talked about the Outlaw series a couple of times on the channel in the past, but I want to call out Outlaw Golf 2 on the original Xbox, and I love this game because, one, it's cheesecake. It's absolute cheesecake, both for guys and gals. There's scantily clad people everywhere. It doesn't matter what gender you are attracted to, you're going to get some eye candy in this game. But the thing I truly love about this is the incredible golf mechanics at play here, because this game is what led to some of the most successful Tiger Woods games in the history of the EA Sports franchise, because the team behind Outlaw Golf 2 were the team behind some of the Tiger Woods games that I worked on. They were incredible. They were top-notch developers that had unbelievable ideas for what a golf game could be. They took their creative endeavors with the Outlaw series and applied it to Tiger Woods by toning down the ridiculousness of it a little bit, but still making what could have been a very, very boring sim of a game to be really fun, approachable, exciting, and engaging. All of that applies to Outlaw Golf too. You just get some boobs and butts as well. I remember when I was first told about Super Blood Hockey. I was told about it by my friend David, who was one of my lifelong friends. I've known him since I was 8 or 9. And he told me about this game because he knows I'm a huge hockey fan and I love hockey arcade games. And I was really excited to try this one out because just by the video he sent me, it looked kind of like a modern take on NES ice hockey. And in a lot of ways it is. It plays very similarly to that game. But when you dig beneath the surface and you start to kind of really see what makes this game click, there is so much more going on than just an ice hockey clone. Because when you get into season mode, that's where this goes from, that's a really good hockey game, to this is one of the best sports games ever made. Because you play as a coach, you're managing your team, you're still playing the game as well, of course, but you're managing your team and you're able to determine, like, if you want to give your characters boosts via different illicit substances. You can kill players on the ice. Like, it's a crazy ass game and it's so much fun. And if you haven't played it, you should. It's available everywhere. I have it on the Switch. There is a physical release from Premium Edition Games as well, so if you're looking for it physically, be on the lookout for that. It is not available on their website anymore, so you're going to have to track it down, but it's well worth it. I really wanted to put Volume 3 on here just because it gets super flippin' weird by having the Mario characters in it on the GameCube, but I think the best basketball game ever made, yes, including things like NBA Jam, which is why NBA Jam doesn't make the list, is NBA Street Volume 2. This is one of the finest sports games ever made. Yes, it's over the top. Yes, it's ridiculous. Yes, it is a little bit different than any basketball game you've ever played, but never have the mechanics of basketball and the entertainment of street ball been more perfectly captured than in Volume 2 of the NBA Street franchise. You have classic gameplay, fantastic characters, amazing unlockables, and just legends of the NBA available at your disposal to play. Michael Jordan's in this game. That wins alone. Like, being able to play as MJ is pretty amazing, but the game itself is just wonderful from top to bottom. I put hundreds and hundreds of hours into this game when it originally released. It's still fun today. I was kind of torn on what Punch-Out game to include here because I love them all. I think they're all fantastic. But seeing as how I just talked about Mike Tyson's Punch-Out last week, and I talked about Punch-Out on the Wii probably 2 months ago, I wanted to talk about Super Punch-Out here, which I haven't talked about very frequently on the channel, which is crazy because it's one of the best Punch-Out games ever made, one of the best boxing games ever made. I wanted to include this one because while it does have tried and true mechanics, and it's something that I think we're all familiar with, like, we understand when you get a special, you press the button, you do your super punch. Other than that, it's a rhythm game. You're dodging, you're attacking, you're countering, and you're waiting for whatever quirk each character has to kick in. But this game, I think, really kind of tips the scales to being overly ridiculous by the different boxers you face. Anytime you're going to fight a character named Bear Hugger and it's a big dude in overalls, you're good. Same thing with King Hippo. King Hippo's amazing as well, but for some reason, just visually, Bear Hugger just sticks out in my head. There's a ton of other really memorable characters in this game as well, including some throwbacks to the original Punch-Out. Game is fantastic from top to bottom. I love that we were able to include this in Fight Night Round 2 on the GameCube. It's great anywhere you can play it. If you haven't had a chance to play this, I don't know how, because it's like kind of everywhere. But please check it out. It's one of the best boxing games ever made.
Silly sports games that I think every collection should have. These are fantastic games that I think anyone can get some enjoyment out of. And we're running the gamut of sports here. We're not just looking at strictly American Big Four. We're looking at everything. We've got ice hockey, we have auto racing, we have snowboarding. This is all kinds of stuff that I think everyone can enjoy. But I would love to hear from you. What are your favorite silly sports games? Let me know in the comments down below. I've got a video on screen right now where I'm talking about the best retro sports games that every collection should have. This is a bit of a different take on that, but if you're curious about it, check that video out. If you enjoyed today's video, give it a thumbs up. If you really enjoyed it, consider subscribing. I'd love to have you stick around. And until next time, remember to play more games, stay square, and take care. I'll talk to you soon.